Okay, today we are going to learn about the under 6 chapter, the 6.5 coordination and homeostasis in human, right? Today in detail, we are going to learn about the nervous system, right? Okay, all the participants are 8. Shall we wait for 5 minutes or shall we start? Okay, it's okay, we'll start, then they will be coming, right? Okay. So in coordination and homeostasis, okay, before going to the nervous system, you have to know some terms, right? You have to know some terms. That is stimulus, irritability, responses, and coordination. Okay, so before learning about the nervous system, you have to know the meaning of these words: stimulus, irritability, responses, and coordination, right? And so please take your textbook, right? And so you can see the things. And stimulus, what do you mean by stimulus? It may be the change, right? The stimulus means the change that takes place in the internal environment, that means inside our body, or the changes that takes place in the external environment. Example, in the external environment mean what? The light, sound, okay, vibration. Those are the changes that takes place in the external environment. The changes that takes place in the internal environment means hunger, thirst, sleepiness. Okay, so these are known as stimulus. So the change that takes place in the external environment, right? External environment is detectable by the sensory organs, right? They are detectable by the sensory organs. That is known as the stimulus. So if you mention only the change that takes place in the external environment, that is detectable by the sensory organs, is known as the stimulus. Okay, right. And the stimulus is sensed. Okay, the stimulus is sensed by the sensory organs. What are the sensory organs? Ear, nose, tongue, eye, skin, right? Those are the 5 sensory organs, right? And the next term we have to know is responses. So responses means the reaction for a stimulus, right? The reaction for a stimulus. So the reaction for a stimulus means what? So when a thorn is pricking, right? When a thorn is pricking our foot. So what will we do? Do we keep on the thorn as long as possible? No, right? We will immediately take away. That is the response, right? That is the response. If you keep your finger, or if you bring your finger near to the fire, will you keep it? No, immediately will take away, right? That is the response. Okay, so actually the responses, okay, the stimulus is sensed by the sensory organs. Like that, responses is shown by the effectors, right? Responses is shown by the effectors. So examples for the effectors are muscles and glands. Okay, muscles and glands. So the sensory organs also can be called as the receptors. Receptors receive the stimuli, and responses, okay, responses are shown by the effectors. The examples for the effectors are the muscles and glands. Okay, right. Now the next term you have to know is irritability, right? Irritability means what? Irritability means the ability to respond, right? The ability. Don't write any notes, ma, right? I will send you the notes, right? Just listen, okay? Ability to respond to the stimuli, right? If we are able to respond to the stimuli that coming from the external and the internal environment is known as the irritability. Okay, again I'm saying, if we are able to respond to that stimuli, right, coming from the external and the internal environment is known as the irritability. The fourth important term we have to understand is coordination. What is coordination? The communication, right? The communication between the different organs, right? During responding to a stimulus. So the communication should take place. Okay. So when we are keeping our foot on the thorn, right? So the skin will receive the stimuli, and the impulses will be taken to the what? Central nervous system, the brain. Okay, or the spinal cord. So central nervous system. Then thereafter, the messages will be passed to the muscles in the foot to take away the food. Okay. So these organs should interrelate and work together. So that is called the coordination. Okay. So the communication between different organs during responding to a stimulus is known as a coordination. So in another word, we can say, right? In another word, we can say adaptation of the body, right? Adaptation of the body to respond, right? Adaptation of the body to respond according to the changes in the internal and the external environment. Okay, right. So for this coordination purpose, nerves, muscles and hormones are important for coordination, right? And see this assignment 6.6. Okay, complete the table using different receptor organs and the stimulus that can be detected, right? So sensory organs, the 5 organs are given and the stimulus that is detected. And eye, light energy. And what about the ear? Ear, what is the stimulus is detected? Sound energy, right? Nose, smell, okay? And tongue, the taste. And the skin, the feelings, okay? The heart, the pain, okay? Everything, the skin, okay? So that is the stimulus that is detected, right? And so now you know what is stimulus, what is response, what is irritability, and what is coordination, right? And now tell me, so example, if the thorn is pricking the leg, okay, if the thorn is pricking the leg, the touch, okay, that touch is the stimulus, right? And taking away the leg is the response, okay, taking away the leg is the response. And now let's check another example here. They have given in assignment 6.7, right? Assignment 6.7, when you sense smell of tasty food, okay, saliva is secreted into the mouth. State the stimulus, sensory organ, response and effector. So you have to state separately. So when we sense the smell of the tasty food, so saliva is secreted. So stimulus is what here? Smell, okay? So if you want, you can write these things, okay? Stimulus is what? Smell. And sensory organ, yeah, the nose. Out of 5, the nose is the sensory organ. And what is the response? Response is done by the effectors, either muscles or glands. So we have glands, okay? So response is what? Secretion of saliva. And what is the effector here? Salivary glands, okay? Salivary glands. So again, once again, repeating, okay? Stimulus is the smell, sensory organ is the nose, response is the secretion of saliva, and effector is the salivary glands. Okay, right. So, right. So if there is a proper communication between different organs only, okay, the tissues and the functions will take place. Okay, the function will take place smoothly, right? For the coordination, right? For the coordination purpose, two interconnected, right? Two interconnected, but they are different systems, okay? Two interconnected, but different systems present in human body. What are they? They are nervous system and endocrine system, right? Nervous system and endocrine system, right? So in this session, we are going to discuss about the nervous system, right? So coordination done by the nervous system is called nervous coordination, right? Normally in endocrine system, or we can say chemical coordinations, right? The hormones secreted to the blood according to the concentration of the hormone, particular effector will respond to it, right? Particular muscle, so the effector will respond to it, right? Right. Then, now, we'll see, right, nervous coordination, right? So nervous coordination, so we are going to see in detail. So see this one, there is a term they have said, due to an electrochemical change in the nerves. So what is that, children? We have already learned the impulses or the messages, okay, that are transmitted from neurons, okay, among the neurons. So what do you mean by the electrochemical change in the nerves? Actually, the impulses are, they are electrochemical signals, okay, they are electrochemical signals. Why do we call electrochemical signals? Because once a neuron is stimulated, okay, with a stimuli, okay, once a neuron is stimulated with the stimulus, okay, it will create, okay, it creates an electric potential, right? It creates an electric potential, okay, that travels down the length of the neuron, okay. okay, travels down the length of the neuron. One, so that is the word electro, okay, electric, as the electric potential is created. Once it reaches, okay, once it reaches the end of the axon, right, once it reaches the end of the axon, so the terminal, okay, axon terminal, it triggers, right, it triggers the release of certain chemical messengers, okay, it triggers the release of some certain chemical messengers, okay. So at that time, the chemical word is coming. So together we say electrochemical signals. So the impulse, electrochemical signals. Okay. So already in the first chapter, you have learned about the neurons or the nerve cells in the nervous system, right? The structural unit of the nervous system is the neuron, that is made up of the cell body, right? Cell body and the nerve fibers. When you consider about the nerve fibers, they are dendrites and axons. So we have checked in detail, right? And you know what? There are three types of neurons in the nervous system, mainly sensory neuron, motor neuron, and the interneuron, right? Interneuron. So what is the function of the sensory neuron? Right. They transmit the impulses from sensory organ to the central nervous system. And what is the function of the interneuron? They connect the sensory neuron with motor neuron. Okay. So, and what is the function of the motor neuron? They transmit the impulses from central nervous system to the effector, right? Central nervous system to the effector, right? And now, so here we are going to go in detail. So see this one in your textbook, children. Right. And the nervous system, right? Nervous system. The nervous system is mainly, right? The mainly composed, right? The mainly composed of what? Two things. What is that? Central nervous system, right? Central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, right? Peripheral nervous system. And under central nervous system, right? Under central nervous system, uh, if you see, right, it is very important, right? Central nervous system, it is very important in controlling of activities and coordination, right? It is very important in controlling of activities and coordination. And also, right, in the central nervous system brain and spinal cord, right? Brain and spinal cord belong to the central nervous system. And if we consider about the brain, right? If we consider about the brain, right? Simply, if we consider about the brain, right? If we consider about the brain, right? Brain is protected, right? So as it is very sensitive part, right? Very sensitive part and important part. Okay, so it is protected by the hard structure. We can call it as the cranium or the skull. Okay, the brain is protected by the skull. Okay, very hard structure. And when you consider about the vertebral, okay, the spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column, right? Spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. Both are hard structures, right? The skull as well as the vertebral column, right? And right. And when you consider about the central nervous system, that is brain and the spinal cord, okay, okay, they are covered by, right? They are covered completely. They are covered by the meninges. What do you mean by meninges? Meninges means that is the three layers of membranes. Okay, three layers of membranes that enclose the brain and spinal cord. Actually, there are three layers of membrane that enclose the brain and spinal cord. They are after only the skull and vertebral column comes. Okay, so, and also not only this one. Okay, see this one. How much protection is there, right? So thereafter, what is available? So the brain and spinal cord is covered by three layers of membrane that is called meninges, okay, or meninges, you can pronounce in any way, right? And inside, right, inside there is a special fluid, okay, there is a special fluid found within the cavities, okay, found within the cavities of brain, right, brain and meninges, right, brain and meninges. So called as cerebrospinal fluid, right, called as cerebrospinal fluid. That Cerebrospinal fluid. There are many functions of the cerebrospinal fluid. What is that? They will, first of all, right? They will support the brain. They will support the brain and spinal cord, right? And absorption, right? They absorb the shocks and jerks, vibrations, protects against the microbial infections and desiccation, and also it helps in nourishing, right? Giving nutrition, nourishing the tissues, right? These are the main functions of the cerebrospinal fluid, right? uh, Next, right, let's check, go for the brain in detail. Okay, so uh, right, this is our brain, right? So actually, if you consider the brain, right? So I said you already, the brain is protected by the cranium or the skull, and it is surrounded by the tree lining of mangas. That is okay. Children, please remember, if the session is ended, please again rejoin. Okay, with the same link. Okay, mom. Right. So right, and the weight, okay, the weight of the brain is actually, okay, actually 1/50th of, right, 1/50th of our body weight, right, 1/50th of our body weight. And also there are about 100 million, right, there are 100 billion of neurons, right, there are about 100 billion of neurons of nerve cells, okay, right. And you know what, so right, if you see the brain, okay, see your textbook, I said you again, right, brain, right, that is protected by the skull or the, okay, skull or the cranium, and it is surrounded by the tree lining of mangas, okay, inside, okay, there is a cerebrospinal fluid, and the weight is 1/50th of the our body weight, right. And also there are about 100 billion, okay, billion of neurons, right. So you know what, not only the neurons or the nerve cells are available, there are some additional cells or the accessory cells, okay, accessory cells available called neuroglia, right, called neuroglia. And neuroglia are present, right. So what is, so you can mark it, right. So what is the function of the neuroglia? So they provide nutrition and support to cells, right, they provide nutrition and support to cells. Right, and right, now let's go in detail about the brain. The brain is composed, right? The brain is composed of, mainly, there are many parts. Okay, mainly in your syllabus, we are going to discuss about these three main parts. Okay, and also we'll be discussing about the hypothalamus. That is also one of the main part, but we'll be discussing in the. So can you hear me, dears? Some coverage absent. Can you hear me? Anyone please say? Can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. Right. So, okay, the brain is composed of, okay, there are many parts. Okay, there are many main parts. So in our session, we are going to discuss about the cerebrum, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata, right? See the location. So in your exams, okay, this is the external view. Okay, this is the external view of our brain, right? Of the human brain. So you can see many, okay, so the convolutions, okay, the convolutions here in the brain, in the cerebrum, you can find the many convolutions in the brain, and this is cerebellum, and this is medulla oblongata, right. And so at first, okay, and the thing you have to know is what, the peripheral, right, the outer region, right, the peripheral region, what we see, right, the external view, actually the peripheral region, okay, the peripheral region of the brain is composed of, or the made up of, right, made up of, we say gray matter. Normally it will be in the gray color, gray matter, right. So it is composed of the cell bodies, right, because the brain is composed of 100 billions of neurons, okay, each neuron okay, made up of cell bodies and nerve fibers, okay. So that peripheral region of the brain, okay, made up of the gray matter that is composed of the cell bodies, okay, and the interior, right, the interior region of the matter, okay, brain is with the white matter, because white matter, because as it is myelinated, okay, the nerve fibers are myelinated, it is white in color, white matter, right, it is made up of nerve fibers which are myelinated, so that appears in the white color, okay, always remember the brain, in the brain, right, in the brain, the peripheral region, right, in the brain, the peripheral region, okay, in the peripheral region is made up of the gray matter, the gray matter is composed, so okay, composed of the cell bodies, and interior, right, interior is made up of the nerve fibers which are myelinated, that is in the what we call as the white matter, right, composed of white matter, right. Now let's go, okay, in detail about the cerebrum, right? Which is one of the main part in the brain, right? See this one, cerebrum. So, right, cerebrum, that is the largest, okay, ma, that is the largest part, okay, that is the largest part, and you know what, it is most highly developed, right, most highly developed part of the brain. So later on we will be discussing about the functions of each part, so you can understand why it is more important, right. So it is most highly developed part of the brain, okay, and it is also, right, it is also divided as right hemispheres and left hemisphere, right, the right hemispheres and the left hemispheres, two portions, it is divided into right and left hemispheres, okay. And the cortex, what do you mean, the cortex means the outermost region, right, the cortex, the outermost, you can see some convolutions in the cerebrum, that is called the outermost region, right, the outermost region of the cerebrum, okay. So the outermost, the cortex of the cerebrum is highly convoluted, right, highly convoluted, it is highly convoluted, right. So the cortex of the cerebrum means the outermost surface, right, outermost surface is highly convoluted to increase the surface area, right. And also you have to remember, right, you have to remember, because the cerebrum is divided into two hemispheres, left and right, okay. So the left cerebral hemisphere will control the right part of our body, right, and right cerebral hemisphere will control the left part of the body, you have to always remember. And okay, for the exams the naming will come, so please remember the locations, okay, right. And see the functions of the cerebrum, right, see the function of this cerebrum, the first function, right. So normally you can some extra, when I'm saying extra points you mark it, right. So normally we say the cerebrum as the thinking part of the brain, mark it, thinking part of the brain, okay, thinking part of the brain, this is the thinking part of the brain. And also, right, see the functions of the cerebrum, perception of impulses from the receptors, identification of the received sensory information, and storage, okay. Perception means what, receiving the impulses from the receptors, and identifying of the received sensory information and storing. Then the second function, perception of senses about vision, taste, smell, hearing, pain, and temperature. And the third one, perform high mental activities such as learning, intelligence, and thinking. And also controlling of voluntary muscle contraction, right? Voluntary muscle contraction. And also, so voluntary muscle means what? So once you want, okay, you can move, right, according to our wish. Right, and also mark the other things also for the cerebrum, memory, right? Important for the memory, judgment, okay, judgment, reasoning, okay, reasoning, problem solving, right, problem solving, speech, okay, learning, emotions, okay, these are some additional functions, okay, memory, judgment, reasoning, problem solving, speech, learning, emotions, that is okay, these are responsible by the cerebrum. And now, right, so you know what, the cerebrum, okay, cerebellum, next the cerebellum, okay, the cerebellum is located in the Where is it is located? Yeah, cerebellum is located in the later part. Okay, okay, here backside, the later part. Okay, later part of the cerebrum. And also the cerebellum also consists of two hemispheres, right? Two hemispheres, the same like, okay, cerebrum. The gray matter is outer layer and white matter is the interior layer. Okay, like brain. In brain, the gray matter is the outside and white matter is inside. It is same for the cerebrum. It is same for the cerebellum also, right? Okay. And let's check the functions of the cerebellum, right? Cerebellum, in your book, right? See your textbook, maintaining, right? Maintaining the body balance, okay, and control of voluntary muscle activity. Control of, so in the cerebrum, okay, in the cerebrum, controlling of voluntary muscle contraction only, okay, contraction. Remember this one. Here, cerebellum is responsible for the voluntary muscle activities, okay, and involved in the maintenance of the body movement, right? Body movement. And also write this one, mark this one, motor skills, right? Motor skills such as balance, coordination, posture, right? Everything is responsible by the cerebellum, right? Again, I'm saying motor skills, right? Motor skills such as balance, coordination, posture, also responsible by the cerebellum. Okay, right. Next, medulla oblongata, right? If you see the location of the medulla oblongata, right? Medulla oblongata, here is the medulla oblongata, right? Medulla oblongata, what is the location? It is anteriorly, anterior means front, okay, anteriorly, interior to cerebellum. See this one, anteriorly means front, okay, anteriorly, interior, inwards, okay, interior to cerebellum. And also it is important, right? This medulla oblongata is important center. We call important center in controlling many life processes. Okay, many life processes. So if we check the medulla oblongata function, okay, actually, right. So controlling the rate of heartbeat, okay, controlling the rate of heartbeat, rate of respiration, as well as reflex actions, actually all the reflex actions, okay, reflex actions such as vomiting, coughing, and swallowing, okay, these functions are controlled by the, so normally we say what, important center in controlling the many life processes, okay, right. So we have discussed the one of the main example in the okay, under nervous system, and under that we have discussed central nervous system. In the central nervous system we have discussed the brain, okay, right. And now we are going to discuss about the spinal cord, right. So the spinal cord, actually the spinal cord, right, so it is actually the cross section, okay, it is actually the cross section of the spinal cord, okay, human spinal cord, right. So here when we describe about the structure, actually it is a tubular structure, right, it is a tubular structure starting from medulla oblongata, right, starting from medulla oblongata inferiorly, right, inferiorly, okay, the right. Okay, so actually this is medulla oblongata. So spinal cord is what? So it is a tubular structure starting from medulla oblongata inferiorly and runs through the vertebral column, right? Runs through the vertebral column. Okay, that is the spinal cord here. So another thing you have to remember, in the brain, the peripheral region is the gray matter and the interior region as the white matter. Okay, but in the spinal cord, it is opposite. Okay, what is that? Peripheral region. Okay, the peripheral region, peripheral outside. Okay, the peripheral region is the white matter, and interiorly, right? Interiorly, it is gray matter, right? Interiorly, gray matter. And here, see this one, the spinal nerves, right? So under nervous system, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. In the central nervous system, that is brain and the spinal cord. In the peripheral nervous system, we will be discussing about the nerves. Okay, under the nerves, we have cranial nerves and peripheral nerves, okay, cranial nerves and sorry, spinal nerves. Cranial nerve and the peripheral, under peripheral nervous system, we have cranial nerves and spinal nerves, okay. So here the spinal nerves, right? The spinal nerves arise from the spinal cord, right? They are here start symmetrically, right? They start symmetrically at either side, okay, at either side of the spinal cord, right? At either side of the spinal cord. Then what do you mean by then cranial nerves? Okay, what do you mean by cranial nerves? So if you see the cranial nerves means, so cranial nerves in the body, there are 12 pairs. Okay, cranial nerves, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Okay, so the nerves that directly arise from the brain, if the nerves that directly arise from the brain, we call as the cranial nerve. There are 12 pairs. And spinal nerves mean they are the nerves that arise from the spinal cord, and they are the major nerves, right? They are the major nerves of the body. And how many pairs are available? 31 pairs. Okay, 31 pairs. Right. Now we are going to discuss about the right. If the session is ending, please rejoin with the same link, children. Right. Now we are going to learn about the reflex arc. Okay. So before coming to the reflex arc, I want to ask you, what do you mean by reflex actions? Okay, reflex action. Actually, a reflex action means a sudden, okay, a sudden involuntary response. What do you mean involuntary response? Okay, without our consciousness, okay, without our consciousness, okay, a sudden involuntary response to a particular stimulus. Particular stimulus, it may be fire, or it may be prickling, okay, pricking of a thorn, okay. So those are the, okay, particular stimulus. A sudden response to a particular stimulus is called the reflex action, called as the reflex action. So example, if we are keeping our leg on the thorn, we won't just slowly take our leg. Immediately we will take our leg, okay, without our consciousness, okay. So that is called the reflex action. If we are keeping our hand in the fire, we will be immediately taking our hand without, okay, without delaying, okay. So that is known as the reflex actions, okay. So and so these reflex actions, right? These reflex actions takes place with the involvement of the reflex arc. These actions, okay, these reflex actions, if the reflex action is taking place, actually these reflex actions takes place with the involvement of the reflex arc, okay. So the reflex arc. So we can say the functional unit, okay, the structural unit of the nervous system is the nerve cell or the neuron, okay. The functional unit of the nervous system is the reflex arc, okay. The functional unit of the nervous system that maintains the coordination is called the reflex arc, okay. So the three types of nerve cells will involve in a reflex arc. Those are the sensory neuron, you can see in the picture, right? Figure 6.31, okay. um, Sensory neuron, interneuron, and motor neuron. Here, see this one, this particular person is keeping the hand in the fire. So the skin is the receptor. So the receptors in the skin will feel the, okay, fire. The images will be, okay, the impulses will be transmitted to the sensory neuron. Then it will be transmitted to the, okay, the intermediate neuron or the interneuron is there, connects the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. And from the motor neuron, it will be transmitted to the effectors. So effectors can be muscles or the glands. So here, obviously, the muscles, okay. So the muscles will the muscles of the hand will immediately help to take the hand away from the fire. So it is the action that is unconsciously immediately taking place quickly. So we call this one as the, okay, reflex action, okay. With the involvement of the reflex arc only, the reflex action is taking place, okay, right. So here the example that is given is the spinal reflex, okay. So you know what? There are two types, okay. There are two types of reflex actions, okay. There are two types of reflex action called spinal reflex and cranial reflex, okay. Spinal reflex and cranial reflex. If the, okay, cranial reflexes is controlled by the cranial nerves, okay. Cranial nerves. that tend normally the cranial reflexes tend to take place in the face, okay, face and in the head area, okay, face and the head area. Examples we have given, okay, examples for the cranial reflexes and the spinal reflexes. See the cranial reflexes, like what? Example, constriction of our pupils. Okay, we are okay, constricting our pupil due to the light, or sneezing, salivation, blinking eyelids. Okay, so if the reflex is happening in our head end, okay, face area, that is called cranial reflexes. Okay, it is the spinal reflexes. Example for the spinal reflexes is what? Moving hand away when it contacts with the hot surface, lifting the leg when you step onto the thorn. Okay, these are the famous examples, right? Right. So these are the now, right. So you can do these work. Okay, state the reflexes you encounter in day-to-day life. State some reflexes. Okay. Autonomic nervous system, right? Actually, autonomic nervous system means, right, nerve supplies. Okay, in this autonomic nervous system, here the nerves, okay, here the nerves is supplied, okay, the nerves is supplied to the internal organs, okay, the internal organs of the body, which are involuntarily controlled. Okay, so because nerves also should be supplied to the internal organs, okay, then only the coordination will take place properly. Okay, so these autonomic nervous system will regulate the body functions such as heartbeat rate, digestion, respiration rate, okay, pupil response, urination, etc. Okay, so the nerve supply is taken place to the internal organs of the body, okay, that are involuntarily controlled. Okay, so this nervous system actually coordinates the involuntary activities, okay, involuntary activities in the body. As I said, heart rate, digestion, respiratory rate, okay, pupil response, urination, everything, right? Right. And you know what? The coordinating, right? The main coordinating centers of the autonomic nervous system, right? Autonomic nervous system is hypothalamus, right? Hypothalamus and medulla oblongata, right? Medulla oblongata, you have to remember. And the autonomic nervous system, right? The autonomic nervous system is composed of two parts. It is sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. You know what? The sympathetic nervous system always activates at the emergency case. Okay, emergency case, it will be activated. So again, it should come to the neutralizing position so that it will be neutralized by the parasympathetic, right? So both are doing the opposite work. So sympathetic nervous system activated at the emergency case, and after activating, it is neutralized. Okay, it is neutralized by the parasympathetic nervous system. So both cause the opposite effects. So we can call that one as the causes fight or flight effects. Okay, fight or flight effects. Right. So you can see the pictures. Okay. Uh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So here see the nerves arise from the. Okay. And they are supplied to the internal organs, right? They are supplied to the internal organs. You can see here this side sympathetic nervous system, here the parasympathetic system, here the opposite things. Okay, it activates in the emergency, it is neutralized, okay, by the parasympathetic. Increases the size of the pupil, reduces the size of the pupil, inhibits the saliva secretion, stimulates the saliva secretion, increases the heartbeat rate, reduces the heartbeat rate, increases the rate of aeration of lungs, and decreases the rate of the aeration of lungs. Okay, the opposite cause, decreases the peristalsis, increases the peristalsis. Okay, so these are the functions. Okay, I think you would have got the idea about the nervous system in this session. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. You can leave.